At the top of your show, you were talking about fortitude.
Yeah.
As and when you can, if you hit a bump in the road, try and power through it.
Yeah.
It's down to you. You know, you show what you've got. Power through it. Get through it on your own. Harry Maguire facing a lot of criticism at the moment. Some of it from pundits, but I suppose pundits, that's why they're there. There's one message that's come in. Maguire.
Which pundits?
Well, we'll get to that. Maguire says, this listener this morning, the biased, gobby views of Rockers fans and journalists, or the considered knowledge of long-term planning of Southgate and his coaching staff. I know which one I would be listening to.
And that's fine. And all those biased and gobby journalists that will now have their mental health being challenged because they've been called that by someone is, something for them to worry about.
Yeah.
Everyone's got an opinion. I just don't understand this narrative that's being peddled through various sources, and you'll have another one in a minute, that somehow pundits have taken it beyond the pale with Harry Maguire. I don't understand that.
No, and I don't see that either. But you were saying, as and when you can, get through a bump in the road on your own. Yesterday, you got a message from somebody in football who's saying that Harry's family will be pretty distraught
I did.
about what is going on at this time. Well, that's certainly the case, because Kane mentioned it in his bulletin. In the last few moments, Zoe Maguire, mum of Harry, has popped out a message on Instagram, I think it is, Luke. Yeah, on Instagram. And Zoe says, as a mum, seeing the level of negative and abusive comments which my son is receiving from some fans, pundits and the media is disgraceful and totally unacceptable to any walk of life, never mind someone who works his socks off for club and country. I was there in the stand as usual. It's not acceptable what's been created over nothing. So Zoe then goes on to say, mum of Harry, I understand that in the football world there are ups and downs, positives, negatives, but what Harry receives has gone far beyond football.
Okay.
For me, seeing him go through what he's going through is not okay. I would hate to see any other parents or players go through this in the future, especially young boys and girls breaking through the ranks today. He has a massive heart, and it's a good job. He's mentally strong and can handle it as others may not be able to do. I wish this sort of abuse on nobody, says Harry's mum. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, is there?
Look, I mean, it's her son. She's entitled to write whatever she wants. I'm not entirely sure Zoe would have been writing something when Harry's career was in ascent and everyone was saying how wonderful he was. I don't remember her writing her gratitude for all those people that were eulogising and waxing lyrical. This is a moment in time that only Harry Maguire can overcome. And if you remember back in 1998 when David Beckham came back from the World Cup as public enemy number one, it was his performances. You had people putting out dummies that were being lynched at football stadiums, none of it particularly palatable, but he came back as the country's prime enemy as a result of that situation in that Argentinian game. And what David Beckham did was overcome it by his performances. And that's what Harry Maguire will have to do. I'm troubled by this constant ability for people to use feelings over facts. We have it in every walk of life, whether it's racism or whether it's, I feel this, so it must be that. I feel that, so it must be this. Which particular pundits are Gareth Southgate's, Harry Maguire's mother, and whoever else referring to? Not because I have a guilty conscience because I said he turns like an ocean liner because his performances weren't at a particularly good level, or because I think he's a mediocre centre-half. Those are just opinions. Which particular pundits are we talking about? Which particular section of the media have taken this beyond observation about his performances and turned it into abuse? Because that's what I'd like to... And if they have, then they should be reprimanded, because I'm not seeing it.
Yeah,
football fans, it's the football fans that have jumped upon it in the way that football fans do, and they've used it as a weapon to be able to diminish Harry Maguire, because Harry Maguire being diminished in a game will help the opposition play well against them. The Man United fans that started this particular booing of their own captain, have a look at yourselves.
But no one will do it. That he takes a lot more flack than any other defender right now in the game.
From whom? You mean people...
We just mentioned them. His own fans. Manchester United fans started this.
Well, then let's call it for what it is. Because Southgate wouldn't do it. And I'm a father, and I wouldn't want my children to be in a situation when they're in the public domain, but I would price it into my thinking that I never complained when I was on this ridiculous ascent to this ludicrous lifestyle that footballers now have, beyond the pale of their talents, but because it's the economic landscape that football has, they take all of those upsides and now the downsides. I don't like it. I said it the other day. This booing of Harry Maguire is not right, but this criticism of him being picked when he's not a regular at Manchester United and having the same standards deployed to him as other people don't, this criticism of his performances, that is the territory of being a highly paid, highly recognised, highly rewarded, highfalutin footballer. That's the price on the ticket. Now, where is, besides the fans, where is this abuse that we're being told exists? Because I want to see it, and if I can see it, I'll shut my trap. But I can't see it. All I can see is people saying he's an average defender, because I think he is. Am I not allowed to say that? Is someone not allowed to say it? Is that personal? Did I say he was stupid and ugly and gormless and a worthless blot on the landscape? No one said that. But it does happen in social media, and it does happen in terraces, because that's the nature of the beast. And that you cannot price into the thinking. That's why I think it is wrong that people, once he's been picked, once he's playing for your team, what would be the purpose of booing him? It's destructive. But unfortunately, it's the way of the world, and you can't have all this wonderful upside.
But it shouldn't be the way of the world. You say,
but
unfortunately,
Jim,
it's the way of the world.
People shouldn't boo the national anthem. People shouldn't do a lot of things in life. The bottom line is that you've got to be able to find your way through it, because at the end of the day, the values that you have, the things that are important to you, the things that you know in your soul are important to you, like your family and those around you, and those that you know you as an individual. And your strength of character will get you through. I understand why his mother feels the necessity to do this, because she's watching her son, and she probably feels this is inherently unfair. If he's got a good heart, that's fantastic. So he should have. People shouldn't have bad hearts. But the fact of the matter is that this is if we are talking, like Southgate did the other day, about people in the media, people that should know better, saying things that are beyond the professional pale of reasonable conduct, let's have these people called out. And you know why they won't call them out, Jim? Because they can't point to it, because it's not true. And I'm not getting all pious about it because I'm defending my own particular pitch, because they can't point to it. So they do it in the abstract. They turn around and say, on this homogenised mass, the media, because all the media is the same apparently. Who are these people? And what is it that they've said? And who is it that's saying the wrong things? And then we can all look at it and go, you know what? That's a fair observation, because I think most people, besides those that suddenly want to fall in line, go, oh, yes, let's all jump on now the Harry Maguire bandwagon for feeling sorry for him, which there'll be a lot of those about, I can assure you, who have been equally critical, will say. But who are we talking about?
I'm just looking at it. As a mum, seeing the level of negative and abusive comments which my son is receiving from some fans, pundits and the media, it's disgraceful, totally unacceptable. I mean, when you get flack at Palace on occasions in your time as an owner, your old mum must have been disappointed.
She was. She sat in a football stadium next to me in the first season I had Palace, absolutely doing my brains in economic, listening to a bunch of Palace fans calling me an effing this and an effing that. Right? And I'm sat there listening to thinking, hang on.
Well, then it's unacceptable.
But I would, if my mum,
and that's what Harry's mum's point now.
But it's price on the ticket, and it's my business.
Is it though? Why do we accept that that's the price on the ticket?
Because to be unrealistic.
I remember when he was manager at Blackburn, Steve Keane's wife, it got so bad she had to get up and walk out.
No, I don't think it's ideal, but let's get it right. Let's compartmentalise it. Let's point at where it is. Who is doing this? Where's it coming from? Is a pundit's only job in life to turn around and say when someone's wonderful? Is that their only job? Because I tell you what, that's the kind of media that's going to create nothing for no one. If you can't be honest, if you can't call something for what it is, if this is the media's responsibility, if this is punditry and the media, as is being alluded to by Zoe, let's point out who and which media we're talking about. Because if we're talking about someone like me saying he's mediocre, crying out loud, is that what we're talking about? If we're talking about me, someone says like he turns like an ocean liner because he's slow in a game, is that what we're talking about?
But one thing I would say, family members,
get over it.
This is his mum. Get what you say. Get over
it. He's a man.
She's got every right, if she so chooses, and she's chosen to call it out.
She has got every right.
Because it's her son. She has every right
to do it.
Getting abused.
She has every right.
Alex Bruce did it on this show when Steve Bruce was coming in for flack.
And it's very difficult not to. But the bottom line is that what does it achieve? Does it help? Do you think, knowing what we know, that all of a sudden all these black-hearted devils incarnate there in the media world that are just waiting for their next opportunity to ridicule her son are suddenly going to have a change of heart? All these football fans are going, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I'm telling you what, I wish I'd never said a rude thing about him now, because his mum said that. That's not how it plays out in the real world.
Did any of your family ever get directly involved in protecting you from the flack?
No.
And there was plenty of flack.
Yeah, of course there was. And I didn't care about it because the people that were throwing it to me were absolutely irrelevant. They weren't my peers. They weren't people that I particularly respected. They weren't people whose opinion I valued. So by definition, I took it on the chin because it may well have some substance behind it and it may well not. I do feel for her. I do feel for the scenario. But we are now getting... I mean, it's not because I'm defending our pitch, Jim.
No,
the last
I
thing
know
I'm going to do is
you're
defend the media. I just, for the love of me, I cannot understand who Southgate and Zoe Maguire are talking about in the media. Because I really want them to be pointed at. I hope it's me. I hope it's someone like us. It says because then they can point to it. And we can turn around and say, oh, actually, we better march off down to the church and repeal and repent our sins.
One thing she might be saying is, look, lay off him because he's being over-scrutinised.
I agree.
And you can't argue with that.
Hold on. The only time he's scrutinised is when people call him up for an England squad and he hasn't played. What do you expect? A pass? Now, if Calvin Phillips should be getting the same observations, and by the way, he does. The only difficulty is what do you do about Manchester United fans that started booing their own captain? Whose fault was that? Where's the chicken and where's the egg in that particular scenario?
Well, I tell you what.